This is Timmy J here at Hot Pixel, and I'm coming in hot today with 5 tips that will help improve your photography and videography, or hybrid shooting, whatever you want to call it. These tips will definitely help you get better results. If you're a beginner, these tips will be very helpful for you, and you will definitely find value in this video. If you've been shooting for a while, you will probably still get some value out of this video, so I urge you to continue watching, which also reminds me to tell you to like, comment, and subscribe, please, to the channel. I would appreciate it greatly. Anywho, fair enough. Down with the hardest of heads. Tip number 1, okay? Learn your camera and learn your lens. Learn your gear, your equipment. Learn how they all work in combination with one another. Learn all the different abilities that your camera has. Learn what it can do and learn what it cannot do. By being aware of these limitations, it will help you realize what is possible with your camera, what is not possible, and really you can be much more creative and confident in your shooting when you're out and about, when you have learned your gear, learn your camera and your lens well. Take your lens and put it into manual focus and learn how to manual focus with your lens. There's a lot of times that I shoot with autofocus, yes, but there's also a lot of times that I want to fine-tune that autofocus, and I will use manual focus to do so. It just adds that extra layer of confidence where you know that if the autofocus isn't giving you what you want, you can obtain what you want with manual focus. I really recommend manually focusing, getting confident with manual focus, and you should notice a pretty good improvement in your photography and videography by adding manual focus into the mix and being very confident in your gear, your lens, your camera, and their abilities. Okay, tip number 2, head on a swivel is what I'm calling this one. And what I mean by that is when you're out and about shooting, and not for a paid gig or anything, for your own shooting purposes, it's a good idea to be very observant and aware of what is going on around you. You may notice some interesting things. You might see a light reflection off of a car or off of a puddle a certain way and end up getting a fantastic shot that you wouldn't have got otherwise. A quote I heard that I really like is, often the best shot is the one behind you. And in my own experience, photography and videography, I have many times turned around and found that the best shot was behind me. So just keep that in mind. Be very aware of what's going on around you. Take a look around 360 degrees. Don't go around shooting with the blinders up. The photographs and video that you will end up with at the end will be a lot better and a lot more varied if you're shooting in an aware and very observant state of mind. So, yeah. So tip number 3 in this video, neutral density filters. These are filters that you put on the front of your lens that will block a certain amount of light coming in. And these are, in my opinion, basically essential for anyone who's looking to shoot video outside. Where you don't have control over the lighting situation, you could probably get away with it in the studio without ND filters. But if you're out and about and you're trying to film anything and follow a 180-degree shutter angle to keep your motion blur looking natural and normal, or most videographers will follow a 180-degree shutter angle which is basically taking the frame rate that you're shooting in and doubling that as your shutter speed. So 24 frames per second, your shutter speed would be 1/50 or 1/48, as close to double as you can get. That will keep your motion blur looking natural and normal. Using a higher, faster shutter speed will make your footage look super jittery. If you're out shooting and following a 180-degree shutter angle on a bright day, you're going to be very overexposed. The only way to combat this is to have a faster shutter speed and a smaller aperture, which are both sacrifices. So to eliminate those sacrifices, basically, neutral density filters, they come in a couple varieties. You can get fixed neutral density filters or variable neutral density filters. And the fixed neutral density filters will block a set amount of light. You won't be able to adjust it. I recommend for most beginners to get a variable neutral density filter, because that way you'll have a little bit more flexibility, a little bit more range to work with. So variable neutral density filters often come in 2 to 5 stop light reduction or 6 to 9 stop light reduction. You can, of course, get stronger filters. There are different types of filters, like mist filters. I'm not talking about those in this particular video. I will be doing a little more thorough video on neutral density filters and filters in general. When purchasing a neutral density filter, buy a good one. Get a Polar Pro or get a Freewell. B&W make good filters. Nisi. So get a good filter, because basically, if you've got some decent glass and you go put a really crappy filter on it, it's basically the equivalent of getting all dressed up in a nice Armani suit, going out to a party wearing a pair of clown shoes. So really, just keep in mind, if you've got some decent glass, put a good filter in front of it. Okay, which brings me to how you buy your filter. They come in different sizes, so I recommend you take and look at all your lenses, find out the largest filter thread of your lenses, okay? And then buy a filter that's as large as or larger than the largest filter thread on your lenses. Buying a bigger lens will future-proof you in case you go and get a lens with a larger filter thread down the road. So I recommend doing that. For example, this is a 67mm filter thread on this lens, and the actual filter is 77mm. So you will have to invest in a set of step-up rings, which are very inexpensive. I think you can get them for about $20, and they'll allow you to step up from your lens to a larger filter. Also, one of the benefits of using a larger filter is it will reduce vignetting. In theory, the bigger filter, you shouldn't see any vignetting on a smaller lens. Yeah, they help you so much. Basically, if you want any sort of shallow depth of field and that sort of thing, you're going to be needing a wide aperture, and you're going to be unable to do that with the amount of light coming into the camera. So you're going to need to block some of that light. Neutral density filters is how to do it. Buy a good one. Do not waste your money and buy a really cheap one. I know this from experience. I've purchased several very inexpensive neutral density filters, and I've found that every one of them has either given my footage a color cast, I've seen pretty substantial vignetting, or there's like a X pattern when rotating the filter. They're not good. Very inexpensive. If you've got some good glass, buy yourself a good filter. I recommend the Polar Pro filters. The Peter McKinnon are very good filters. The Freewell All Day Kit I also own. That is a good filter system as well. You're watching that one right now. Buy a set of step-up rings, and you'll be able to fixate one filter to any of your lenses. So they're well worth spending the money and buying a good one. Essential for videography in broad daylight, if you ask me. For photography as well, however, these filters are very useful for long exposure type photography. If you're trying to, say, capture some light trails or cloud movement, or you want to blur the surface of some water out in your shot, then you're going to need a neutral density filter to be able to block some of the light coming into the camera. So this tip about neutral density filters does not apply only to video, also photography. That's why I included it in this hybrid shooting improvement video, how to improve your hybrid shooting video. So we're going to head back into the studio for these last couple of tips, but just to hammer home my point, I'm going to take this filter off with my settings all just like they are, dialed in perfectly, and you're going to just see how vital neutral density filters really are. So here we are, same exact settings, okay? My motion blur should look normal, but it's unusable, you know what I mean? So, anyways, vital. Okay, tip number 4, take multiple shots. It's never a bad idea to take a couple safety shots to make sure that you got a good one. There's nothing worse than getting home and opening up the files in your computer thinking that you got a good shot, all to find out you missed focus or something is just completely off about the photo you didn't realize before. So I recommend take a couple shots. Take multiple frames, multiple clips if possible. Experiment with different angles and perspective. Get high, get low, change it up, really, as they say, work the scene. Multiple shots. This is a good tip. Don't be afraid to hit the shutter button. It's a much better practice to get home having a lot of files to choose from than it is to get home and realize that that one moment that you're not going to be able to go back and shoot again, you blew it because you only took one shot and you missed the shot. Taking multiple frames, multiple clips. If you don't like them, you can always delete them later, but you can't always go back to that exact moment and reshoot the photo or the video. You just can't. I mean, sometimes you could orchestrate it so that you could go back and reshoot it or whatever, but that exact moment is over. So I recommend multiple shots. Take a bunch of shots if you need to. I'm not saying sit there and spray and pray, but what I'm saying is calculate some additional shots and angles and perspectives on what you were going to shoot in the first place. And you'll find having those extra different looks to choose from in post is going to be just awesome. You're going to be really thankful that you have those extra ones. And tip number 5, and one of the most important in my opinion, and that is get it right in camera. It's a much better practice to be trying to get the proper results in camera than it is to just wing it and hope that you can salvage those files in post-production. I mean, this is kind of a no-brainer to a lot of folks out there, but if you didn't get it right in camera, there's often only so much you can do in post-production to salvage those files. Just ensure that you're getting it right in camera, and this kind of will piggyback off of the last one I was talking about, taking multiple shots. By getting it right in camera, you're ensuring that whatever work you need to do on the file in post-production is minimal. You can achieve what you're looking for much easier in post by getting it right in camera. This, may be elementary to some folks, but I've seen a lot of people out there that just go and wing it and that, maybe I can fix this or maybe I can fix that, when really they could have just taken a little extra time and got what they wanted in camera. I am not an expert on photography and videography, and I'm not going to tell you that I am. But what I will say is that I've been shooting for a long time, decades. So I've made a lot of mistakes. and I've learned a lot from those mistakes. And I'm learning new things about photography and videography every day. One of the reasons I'm making this channel is because of all these different mistakes I've made over the time. I feel like I can save folks the hassle and troubles that I went through by maybe something as simple as watching a short video. I don't know how short of a video, but watching a video. You know, they may be able to pick up some things that will help them along the way. I just want to try and help in the photography and videography community. I am not in this for the money. I am in this for the passion of creating fantastic images and video and sharing what I know about it with people who care to learn about this sort of stuff. So I often like to end the video on a positive note. There's a quote that I found on a fortune cookie wrapper, and that is that failure is the mother of success. And me personally, I have definitely found that to be true. In my photography and videography, very often I've had to fail numerous times in order to achieve success. So this is not something that I think you pick up a camera and you're automatically a professional at. I think that what I know about photography and videography may be helpful to some folks out there. So that's my intent, is I hope to help and be a positive influence in the photography and videography community, and hopefully one day I will be respected for that. Right now we're just starting off. This is a new channel here on YouTube. I am new to YouTube, but I am not new in any way, shape, or form to photography and videography. I have been around the photo and video block a time or two. So I've been shooting cameras all the way from film cameras to the VX1000 from Sony, everywhere from GoPros to the latest A7S3s and newer cameras. So I've faffed about with a lot of them, which gives me a little bit of grounds to be able to speak about them. I feel like that can offer some value. Yeah, failure is the mother of success. So thank you so much for joining today. I'm hoping that those 5 tips provided you with some sort of value. This is Timmy J here with Hot Pixel. We will see you in the next video. Please like, comment, and subscribe. My soul is thoroughly appreciative of all of your souls, and we will see you in the next video. Fair enough.